Here is today's story. A poor woodcutter lived with his 2 children in a remote, rural village. They have lived a very difficult life. This is his daughter, Gretel. He also had a little son named Hansel. The poor woodcutter worked very hard to take care of his children after the death of his wife. He thought about the future of his children and married a second wife. Although the children accepted the stepmother with love, the stepmother had a great grudge against them. She always scolded little Hansel and Gretel. Also, Hansel and Gretel were entrusted with cleaning the house. They told their father about the stepmother's changes, but he paid no attention to it. At the same time, a terrible time came to that village. The stepmother often scolded her husband and children, saying that they had no food to eat. Little Hansel and Gretel went to bed hungry in the cold night. Meanwhile, the evil stepmother tricked Woodcutter by the children to the forest, and telling them that they should find food in the forest and teach them to live alone. She said that if the prince meets the children, he will take care of them more comfortably. An idea came to Hansel at this time. He went to the yard and collected small stones and came back. The next day, they decided to go to the forest with stepmother and father. They tricked the children by telling them to go to cut wood and walked into the middle of the forest. Little Hansel, according to his strategy, marked the way for them to return by placing the pebbles he had collected in the night one by one in their path. It was getting late. The woodcutter and the wicked wife left the children in the forest and said they would return. The father and stepmother waited for their return, but they did not come until night. Then Hansel and Gretel set out to find their home, collecting the stones they left to find their way. Finally, they reached their home. The stepmother was surprised to see Hansel and Gretel, who had found their way back home. She burst into anger. She scolded her husband and said that she should take the children to the forest again the next day. Hansel and Gretel were very sad to hear this conversation. Like the day before, Hansel tried to go out to fetch the stone, but the door of the house was locked. The stepmother kept the key of the house door and Hansel could not get it. They went to sleep at night thinking that they would face everything that was happening. The next day, they went back to the forest and Hansel didn't have flint like the day before, so he marked the way with pieces of bread he had. Again, stepmother and father left them in the forest, and this day too, they waited for their parents to come back. Unknowingly, they fell asleep at night. In the morning, Hansel and Gretel woke up scared. Even though they found the pieces of bread that marked the way, all the pieces of bread were eaten by the birds. Alone in the forest, the children sadly walked forward along a path in the forest. It was getting darker and darker and different. Sounds of the forest and the voices of animals started to be heard. Terrified, Hansel and Gretel thought of lighting a fire again and staying for the night. The next morning, Hansel and Gretel set out to find home again, feeling unbearably hungry. They satiated their hunger by eating various kinds of nuts in the forest, but they were not enough for them. At the same time, moving forward along the forest, they saw a strange house. That house was made up of lots of sweets, like chocolates. There was a fence made of gingerbread men around the house. The children had to run towards the house. Because they were hungry and surprised, they started eating this food until their stomach was full. But the evil witch of this house was watching them. Suddenly, the door of the house was opened, and the evil witch came out. Hansel and Gretel were very upset. But this evil witch kindly called Hansel and Gretel and took them into her house. They were given a lot of delicious food to eat. The witch also gave the children a comfortable bed to sleep on, but she wanted to feed the children well and make them eat well. The witch, who first chose Hansel as food, locked him in a cage. Hansel and Gretel started screaming in fear, but there was no one in the forest to save them. This witch imprisons the children who come to her house. Dot gives them food and drink and eats them when they grow up. Then she put her wood in the oven and make gingerbread people. In this way, the witch had to prepare various delicious foods to make Hansel grow up. Gretel informed Hansel about this. Hansel decided not to eat the food offered by the witch and hide it among the bushes. Helpless, Gretel always begged God to save them. This witch scolded Gretel constantly and had to take work from her. Gretel brought the special food that the witch had made for Hansel to Hansel's cage. But Hansel secretly hid them among the bushes. The food was then given back to Gretel when the witch was not at home. Gretel took the food and buried it in the yard. The witch checked Hansel's finger to see if he was fat. Because Hansel didn't eat food like this, he didn't grow up. The witch checked Hansel's finger every day, but he was not fat, so the witch said to eat him the next day, even if he wasn't fat. The next morning, the witch woke up Gretel and told her to heat the wood stove. Unable to bear the hunger, the witch thought of eating Gretel. She was told to go into the oven to see if it was hot, but Gretel said she did not know how to check the oven. At the same time, thinking to check the furnace, the Gretel pushed witch into the oven. Trapped in the cage, Hansel met his sister again. Little children turned into gingerbread, escaped the witch's power, and came back to life. The evil witch's power was destroyed, and she turned into a petrified gingerbread man. Hansel and Gretel went to find their home happily again. Freed from the witch's power, the children all left for their homes. Hansel and Gretel find their home again. Their father saw the children and hugged them happily. When they returned home, the evil stepmother was dead, and Binoculars was gone, and they lived happily again. This is how today's story ends. Don't forget to subscribe me